For some time now, we've been looking at remasters of the Cult trilogy much more carefully, mainly since we still believe that the day will come when all parts will finally look and work as they should. Although, on the other hand, it cannot be denied that the chance for this is not too big. We often even laugh that the saying, "Hope breeds eternal misery," generally fits this situation and our approach perfectly. However, even if the remasters never get properly fixed, it's still fun to keep track of those changes. And the good results of the videos that show these changes also fuel our appetite to check more things. Therefore, after this short introduction, let's get straight to the point and see how Grove Street Games, assisted by Rockstar North, dealt with another batch of bugs reported by the community. As a warm-up, we'll take GTA San Andreas and the Los Desperados mission. The bug that was fortunately fixed in the end resembled the one in GTA Vice City from the Gun Runner mission, where we couldn't destroy the gun crates, which in turn prevented us from completing the mission. In turn, we couldn't pass the Los Desperados mission because one of the Los Santos Vagos members was holding a bazooka. Well, that was the least reason, because this guy could not be killed. We could shoot him with everything we had, but nothing happened. It's really good that Grove Street Games took care of this, because otherwise, we wouldn't be able to complete the story of the game. It was just as hard a while ago to finish the Last Requests mission in GTA 3, where the real concern for Claude in the remaster was not that he could get into a booby-trapped car, which would spectacularly end his life. Well, in GTA 3 Definitive Edition, Claude's biggest problems appeared on the boat, where one of our travel companions, Asuka to be precise, kept her balance quite poorly, which made her fall into the water with a stronger maneuver. As a consequence of this, ended her life, and at the same time, the mission performed by the player. One of the biggest mistakes in the remasters was the rain. We mean here both in the appearance of this rain and the fact that it fell in many rooms. Although the fatal visual effect of the rain was removed very quickly, some traces of it were still left behind. Such traces are the Love Fist's recording studio and the bar of Mitch Baker's crew. Mitch Baker's bar is the coolest. Grove Street Games did fix that. Now, we can't see the storm inside the room anywhere, but in rainy weather, the pool table sparkles as if there is some water on it. It's no better in the Love Fist's recording studio, where we won't see the effects of the storm, but we can get the impression that the rain is still falling there. The only difference is that the visual effect of this rain has been removed by the developers. Well, just look at this tabletop. It sparkles in the same way as the billiards table in the biker's bar. Instead of fixing this error comprehensively so that it does not rain in the interiors, they only got rid of the visual effect. The rain itself actually continues to fall there and affects the elements of the environment in these buildings, but it simply does not appear on screen. Unfortunately, we can still find a lot of cutscene errors. Players continue to report strange faces or unnatural looking textures. Some elements should not be in cutscenes at all. Such an example was the grass that appeared during one of the cutscenes of the Drive Misty for Me mission for Luigi. During the cutscene in the workshop, we saw grass growing on the concrete floor inside the room. Interesting idea, but quite unlikely. As you can see, even Grove Street Games noticed it, so that's why one of the patches fixed it. Meanwhile, as you can see, we are now visiting Escobar International Airport, where another game bug is waiting for us. Namely, in the first version of the remaster, the planes that took off and landed had dark textures due to unknown circumstances. Here, however, the error turned out to be very easy to fix, and they got rid of it entirely. Although, after the previous error, some could probably bet that Grove Street Games would fix, for example, the texture of half of the plane, and not the whole one. The next bug we'll get to now, unfortunately, has not been fixed so well. It's about the gravel located just behind the El Banco Corrupto Grande Bank on the mainland. Initially, some of this gravel did not have collisions, as you can see in the attached screen. The creators over time coped with this problem, but not completely, because it's not known where and why small cracks appeared in the gravel, which we usually see in the game on the pavement. And the funniest thing is that these cracks levitate in the air. So here we have a real treat for people who like to laugh at remasters. For another texture issue, we head to GTA San Andreas, specifically the Mad Dog's Rhymes mission, where Mad Dog's rhyme book from the bottom looks like it definitely shouldn't. Fortunately, this subtle and somewhat hidden bug has also been fixed. One of the coolest texture bugs that have already been fixed is the front door to the Pole Position Club. As you can see, Grove Street Games has left a surprise for the player even before the player can buy this club, and see these surprises waiting for him inside. The second mistake of this kind is a small fence that separates the Moist Palms Hotel from the rest of the buildings that are right next to it. The case here looks interesting because in the original version of the remaster, this fence had textures without collisions, but what is worth noting, it concerned only the upper part of the fence. As you can see, the lower part normally has a collision, and after some time, the creators finally managed to add this missing collision at the top as well. Moving away from the strange collision errors for a bit, we'll move to GTA San Andreas to check the inscription on the banner in front of the Fleischberg Brewery in Blueberry. If any of you were there in the original GTA San Andreas, you've certainly noticed the company's motto on the banner, which is "Making life mean something since 1869. In turn, Grove Street Games, in the first version of the remaster, replaced this inscription with a new one, which is "Making life moon something since 1869. However, multiple players' reports of this made them change this fairly quickly into the original banner in one of the patches. Moving on, let's take a look at the radio stations where Grove Street Games put the wrong K-Ja radio icon in GTA 3. There's a K-Ja West icon that was in GTA San Andreas, and that was specifically dedicated to the West Coast, while Liberty City is on the East Coast. A mistake was also made when building a parking lot at the hotel where we pick up the missions for the truth. Well, Grove Street Games forgot to add pavement, and until a certain point, the entire parking lot was covered with grass. Interestingly, this parking lot, as you've also seen, has been repaired. But for some reason in the Rodeo district, we still have what we would call a digested parking lot. This is in the context of the previous episode, where we emphasized that bugs from remasters are not removed comprehensively. This is another example that proves this thesis. Finally, we will mention a very small bug, which was that Tommy Vercetti's health magically regenerated when he got on the Pizza Boy scooter during the side mission related to this vehicle. We also had an equally strange effect in GTA San Andreas, where we did not see CJ while looking in the mirror by aiming with a sniper rifle or through the camera. What's more, we noticed that, yes, the bug may have been fixed, but again, not comprehensively. We think so because when we aim and move the mouse side to side, CJ's position changes, but CJ doesn't do anything when we aim up or down. And finally, we'll talk about adding a feature, which we think is a very nice initiative from the developers. Well, as you probably know, in GTA 3, we have several animations related to walking, normal walking, jogging, and sprinting. In turn, in GTA 3 Definitive Edition, admittedly only after one of the patches, the so-called slow sprint was added to us. And yes, you're right, it sounds a bit like a perfect example of an oxymoron. However, in terms of the animation itself, if we hold down the sprint button, we'll start sprinting at a slower pace, and if we press it regularly, we'll get that normal type of sprint. To sum up today's episode, unfortunately, despite all these repairs and changes, it's hard to be optimistic. This is especially evident in those fixes where we've seen how sloppy a given bug has been eliminated, a great example of which is the pool table at Mitch Baker's bar. However, as for the episode itself, we hope you enjoyed it. We'll be very pleased if you rate this episode and check the next ones that are currently displayed on the screen, and which also concern the remasters of the trilogy. In the meantime, take care and see you soon.